Hello everybody, welcome back to another light novel review. Today I am talking about volume number 5 in Aneko Yusagi's light novel series, The Rising of the Shield Hero. Now, in the start of this book, Naofumi finds himself in kind of a different circumstance. Unlike the last 4 books where he's pretty much been running around trying to hide his identity and stay low because everybody thinks he's a criminal, he suddenly finds himself cleared of charges. He finds himself now an ally and friend of the crown, and he actually finds that the other heroes are being forced to give him the information that they've pretty much withheld from him from day number 1. Now, the bulk of this story, though, actually involves Naofumi and the other heroes and all of their followers going to a series of islands that are currently experiencing what is called an activation event. Now, for those of us that play MMOs, this is a special event where essentially during a limited period of time, the monsters give higher experience points. So considering that all of the heroes except for Naofumi pretty much got their butts kicked in the last volume, the queen is like, that's it, you're all going to these islands and you are going to level yourselves up because you are just too darn weak. And so most of the story involves Naofumi on this island. We meet 2 new characters, Larkberg and Teresa. They're a little bit mysterious. We're not too sure exactly what to think of them. And although I will say that Lark provides some much needed, humor to the story, especially the fact that he consistently refuses to believe that Naofumi is actually the shield hero. It's pretty easy with this volume to sort of think of it as a bit of almost a filler episode. This really is kind of bridging the first 4 volumes where, like I said, Naofumi was an enemy of the crown. He was treated like dirt. He was made to be out a villain and everything else. And now that things have changed, this, I think, is kind of transitioning us to this new point in Naofumi's life where suddenly he finds himself with resources and he finds himself with allies, which he really hasn't had up to this point except for Philo and Raphtalia. So it feels a little bit like a transition, a little bit like a filler, but the last sort of third, maybe a quarter of the novel has a pretty big event, and there are little nuggets throughout the book, and particularly in the sort of end part of the novel, that I think are starting to really go a long way to expanding this story. And like I can't really tell you specifics because I don't want to spoil anything, but basically this whole waves of destruction, we're starting to find out a little bit more. There's still a ton of mystery about them, but we definitely are learning that there's a lot more to them than what we had previously thought. And that Naofumi himself may figure into things a lot more than what he thought. I mean, after all, he's been a character who's pretty much figured all I'm good for is making sure other people don't get hurt. But maybe, just maybe, he's a little bit more heroic than he thinks. So in a lot of ways, this book is, like I said, it's kind of a funny book this way because it feels like, you spend a lot of time and it's just kind of character stuff and just kind of, going and leveling up and everything else, and it's showing the characters getting stronger, but there's nothing really super integral story-wise going on for a lot of it, but there's these little things just throughout that if you're paying attention and you catch them and you start sort of thinking on a bigger scale about the possible ramifications of these things, this volume is kind of important and I think is going to serve as a bit of a turning point now. We've spent so many volumes just based on Naofumi trying to survive that now that he has the tools to survive, we kind of have to change things a little bit. And I think that's really the main push of this novel. Even Naofumi himself, you can see there's a little bit of a change in his character. He isn't quite as harsh in this book. He is starting to allow himself to trust some people. So it really is further developing him and I believe leading us into a new arc. A few of you have told me that The following arc is really not super popular, but I have to say, I liked this book. I found it really engaging, and really not so much because there were a ton of action things happening until later on, but I found that having these new characters, Lark and Teresa, and being in a new location, and even now that Naofumi was working in sort of close proximity to the other heroes, it really kind of changed the feel of the series. And being into a 5th volume now and potentially going into another big arc, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was quite well done. And if you've been a fan of the series so far, at this point, I'd have to say that this one is still really good. And it is still close to the series that we have enjoyed for the first 4 volumes. It's just a bit different in its execution. I don't think it'll be until next volume or even volume after that before we're really going to see sort of the new direction that this series is taking, because like I said, this one just sort of feels like we're easing in to something new. So those are my thoughts on volume number 5 of The Rising of the Shield Hero. My next video is going to be on volume number 4 of Strike the Blood, our vampire and superpowered harem girls. So we'll see how that one turns out. That'll be the next video. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe so you can check out all of my future light novel reviews. I've got links to all my old reviews, and I don't just read books, I like to write them too. I've got links to those as well. So thanks very much for watching the video, everybody. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Until then, bye-bye for now.